If one little Jewish boy survives without any Jewish education, with no synagogue and no Hebrew school, Judaism, is in his soul. Even if there had never been a synagogue or a Jewish school or an Old Testament, the Jewish spirit would still exist and exert its influence. It has been there from the beginning, and there is no Jew, not a single one, who does not personify it. Do you dare to guess who said that? Seems complimentary of Jews, doesn't it? Would it surprise you to know that the man who said that also said, conscience is a Jewish invention. It's a blemish, like circumcision. Both quotes are attributed to Adolf Hitler. Apparently, according to documents recording his thoughts and ideas, Hitler believed conscience was a mutilation of man invented by the Jews. The man responsible for killing over 6 million Jews in Nazi Germany, fully 1/3 of the world Jewish population at the time, in an attempt to exterminate them entirely, also said, "The Jews have inflicted 2 wounds on the world, circumcision for the body and conscience for the soul. I come to free mankind from their shackles." The tropes against Jews haven't stopped over the last 80 years, and there are many who still believe them. These beliefs are despicable and difficult for anyone with a reasonable thought process should agree that Hitler and his ilk are morally bankrupt, whether they wrap themselves in a keffiyeh shouting "river to the sea" or align themselves with those who compare law enforcement officers to Nazis and SS officers and consistently use Holocaust comparisons as though they are acceptable descriptors for what is happening in our country. Lecha is all about Abraham, the patriarch of the Jewish faith. It chronicles nearly 25 years of his life, from the moment he left his father's home to the cutting covenant he made with God, in which he was promised offspring as many as the stars in heaven, and through the birth of his son Ishmael via Sarah's maidservant Hagar. It ends when he is 99, performing a circumcision on himself, his 13-year-old son Ishmael, and all the males in his household. At that point, God changed his name from Abram to Abraham and renamed Sarai Sarah. The He added to each name represents the name of God. He went from Abram, father, to Abraham, the father of many nations. Sarai went from princess to princess of nations. The literal Hebrew translation of Abraham is Ha-Ivri, which means the Hebrew. It also refers to one who stands on the other side of the river, because Abraham crossed the Euphrates when he left Haran to come to Canaan. He stood on the other side, both geographically and in his belief in ethical monotheism. He left not just his father's home, but discarded the idolatry of his kin to establish a new nation, to be the father of many nations. Centuries later, God blessed the offspring of Abraham as they embarked on a journey out of slavery in Egypt to a new and prosperous future in Canaan. That promise from God, iterated in Exodus 19:6, says, "You shall be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." The prophet Isaiah later described the Jewish people as a light unto the nations, Isaiah 42:6. Lofty praise. After the dark history of the Jewish people over the years, right up to and including the horrors of Hamas, who still is hanging on to a dozen hostage bodies, hoping to use them as bargaining chips, the tropes don't fade. In fact, in some ways, they've grown stronger. It's disheartening to watch Jews at Free Palestine rallies wrapped in keffiyehs. It's frightening to think that there are actually Jews in New York City who will vote for a man who has repeatedly supported globalizing the Intifada, read annihilation of Jews worldwide, who promised to arrest Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu if he dared to come to the city, and just 2 years ago stated that when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. Mamdani's hateful rhetoric towards Jews is well documented. Still, Jews who prioritize socialist movements that will benefit them and their families over their own Jewish identity will vote for this man. Here's the good news. Hitler was right. You can't take the Jewish spirit out of the Jew. No matter how many Jews you kill, no matter how many politicians and celebrities with Jewish roots you get on your side, regardless of your Hebrew school learning or not, it doesn't destroy what God has created within them. Once a Jew, always a Jew, whether ethnically or by choice. In the closing verses of Lecha, God promised that Sarah would not only bear a son, but give rise to nations. He told Abraham they would name their son Isaac. At the same time, God promised that Abraham's son Ishmael would also be fertile and exceedingly numerous. However, the covenant made with Abraham would continue through Isaac and his offspring. The legacy that Abraham passed on to succeeding generations right down to today cannot be extinguished. All of us, Christian or Jew, have a choice to either go with the flow or swim upstream. We can complacently sit back and let the status quo continue regardless of the potentially catastrophic results, or we can stand up and make a difference in this world. Yesterday, there was a Turning Point USA rally on the campus of Ole Miss. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, spoke about the courage that has been planted in the hearts of the next generation to speak out in civil debate with others. In her speech, she talked about 3 questions that sat on Charlie's desk, questions that he asked himself every single day. 1, what can I do for someone else today? 2, what can I do to make the world a better place today? And 3, what can I do to honor God today? These 3 questions are worthy of what Abraham might ask. How are you making a difference both to the people in your life and in your corner of the world? More importantly, what will you do today to show honor to God? That was the whole of Abraham's life, honoring God in whatever way was humanly possible. Do you have the courage to stand on the other side of the river and speak out for God, act for Him? May it be so for all of us.